Hello. Today I thought I'd talk about the new die units that we should be getting near the end of the month. I'm just going to be talking about the three new heroes in this video. We've got Dragon Knight die, got Sorcerer Pop, Martial Artist Mem, and I'm basically going to cover their movesets, who you can compare them to, and essentially whether I think they're worth pulling, and if they are worth pulling, like what awakening I think you need to get them to for them to be functional. I'm going to start off with Dragon Knight die. As you can see by the stats, this is typical 65 weight hero stats, although his HP is especially big. Huge HP pool, a lot of attack, a lot of defense, decent amount of agility. If we look at the abilities, he has got an ability that reduces his damage by 50% once for 99 turns and increases his physical power by 1.5 times for 1 turn. So essentially this puts a damage barrier on you that lasts until somebody hits it. But it gives you a physical potency 1.5 boost, but that only lasts for the 1 turn. So you have to attack next turn to take advantage of that, but the damage reduction will last until you're attacked, which is pretty good. Then he has Sword of Die Earth Slash. This is essentially Discontinuum from Human Sorrow, except this has a high chance to lower physical resistance, which is really good. The only physical resistance droppers we have so far are Angelo, which is like a 30% chance at best, and doesn't do damage, and then Mont, which is a 40% chance and is nowhere near as powerful as this is. So this is really strong for PvE especially. You could, if you get, you'll be able to obviously drop physical resistance while dealing 600% physical potency to something, and have a 60% chance to drop that physical resistance. If you get 3 stacks of that, then you're going to be absolutely nuking things. Then next we have a Whoosh sure hit physical ability, 320% power. Not the strongest in the world, but sure hit's always super nice, and sure hit Whoosh I think is something we haven't had yet, and it's 1 to 3 range, which is pretty big as well. Then we have his coup, Avant Rush X, which deals 300% potency twice to anybody standing on that square, and has a 60% chance of lowering their zap resistance. And that zap resistance lowering, you'll notice, is elsewhere on this kit as well. These two, this is the same thing again, that shouldn't be here, but he has a character builder as well, like most other 65 weight heroes. He has Avant Rush A, which is a 1 to 4 range zap, 300% physical, with a high chance to lower zap resistance for 3 turns. And then we have Avant Rush B, 300% physical zap to every enemy in the straight line, and he would dash through the enemies and end up back here. But he can only have one of these at a time. I assume that it might be like Wolfspade, where you need to reset the character builder if you wanted to choose a different one. But yeah, that's his moveset. And then if you go down to perks, as his base perk, he has, if at the start of his action, if his HP is 50% less, it's going to increase his physical power by 1.5 times and remove some status ailments. So this means that if you start your action and you're statused in some way, like if you're asleep and you start your action at 40%, then you're going to wake up on that turn, you're going to cure yourself. And also you're going to get that 1.5 times potency boost, which again, for PvE, I think this could be really strong. You drop yourself below 50% somehow, tank an attack, then put yourself behind a cover tank, and then you've got 1.5 times power for the rest of the fight, as long as you don't get healed, which I think is really strong. And also, obviously, this, if you combine it with his damage reduction perk, you can get yourself knocked down to 50% fairly safely with the 1.5 times boost, then get another 1.5 times boost from his passive, and then the next thing you're hitting is probably going to die. His Awakening 1 perk, at the start of battle or action, if your HP is 20% or higher, it increases his move, the damage he deals by 20%, and reduces the damage he takes by 20%. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty important perk to get, I'd say. Obviously getting move up super important, gets him up to 3 move, and then increasing his damage by 20% and reducing the damage he takes by 20%. And also he has a character builder perk down here called Baby Dragon, which recovers 20% of your maximum HP when your HP drops below 30 and activates up to 3 times. So essentially, there's never going to be a scenario where you're lingering below 20% for any reason. Because if you drop below 20%, the Baby Dragon's going to kick in, put you back up above 20%, and so you're going to maintain these perks, or you're going to die and it's not going to matter anyway. So you're pretty much, even though this technically goes away at under 20%, you're never going to really be under 20%. his Awakening 3 perk is on odd number turns. Up to the 5th turn, increases attack and defense for 3 turns. Which is decent, but compared to the perks that Erdrick and Solo have, obviously this is much worse. It doesn't last until turn 10 like theirs does, and also doesn't increase their agility. Doesn't increase his agility, sorry. And then Awakening 5 perk is MP regen. Not really a big deal. I mean, it's nice to have for PvE, but with the damage this guy can pump out, usually battles aren't going to be going on so long that you usually need this, I'd say. If we look at the status weaknesses, weak to sleep, that's really bad. It's probably the worst status to be weak to. He does have a way to cure it, but it's still not a good weakness to have. Weak to bind as well, which is fairly common. Resistance to paralysis and immune to confusion is nice though, nice resistances. And weak to frizz and zam and resist crack and bang, so he's got some overlap with Erdrick there in that sense. Full Draconic Aura at the start of action, if your HP is 50% or less, reduces damage by 50% HP. So again, this guy, when his HP is under 50%, he becomes pretty much a brand new character. He becomes like, he does double the damage and takes half the damage essentially. So this is a guy that, he's much stronger when he's actually taken a few hits. Has he got any other perks in here? I think that's it for the main perks. Now with this guy, I think if you have Solo, who's already a 65 weight hero, I think it's pretty difficult to justify pulling for die, just because Solo's obviously amazing. And for PvP, I would say Solo's kit is far superior. Solo has one thing about die is that he has no utility on his kit really. He's just pure damage. That's what he does. He just does pure damage. He can debuff stuff, but he has no status ailments. So if he can't kill something, he doesn't have the option to, okay, I'll just status it instead, take his turn away. He's just pure damage. Also, his range isn't amazing. He does have this 1-4 option, a decently powerful move at that, but it's zap only. Whereas if you compare to Solo, obviously his 4 range also has a status attached to it. He also has a large fan attack, which can obviously hit way more units than that sure hit, whereas his sure hit option is only a single target. And obviously Zenithian Slash, the utility on that removing buffs from things is, can't really compare to it. Nothing can compare to it. And as good as this Earth Slash I think is as an option to low physical resistance, it can't really compare to Zenithian Slash. And I think it makes sense to compare him to Solo because, I'm pretty sure his banner will still be up when die drops. And I'd say getting more Awakenings on Solo is probably a better idea than getting anything on die. And also another thing, if we're looking in terms of PvP, which again is where status is really useful and die has none of that, he also has no way to stop himself being status. Obviously Erdrick has that immunity for 3 turns, which is really nice. Solo cures himself 3 times, which is really nice, probably way too good. This guy, he removes status ailments when he's under 50%, but whether you're going to drop under 50% isn't in your control in PvP. That's up to your enemy, whether he's going to drop you below 50%. And so what you could do, since he's weak to sleep, you can just snooze this guy and then just ignore him. Don't knock him below 50%, and then it doesn't matter. He's not going to cure himself until you're ready to kill him. In which case you can probably do that all in one go and ignore the fact that he's going to cure himself when he wakes up. So I think from a PvP perspective, this guy doesn't really have much value at all, especially compared to Solo. Like I say, if you have any gems that you want to throw at this guy for PvP reasons, just either save them or throw them at Solo instead, I would say. But for PvE, I've seen him in guides and he is very strong. He can pump out a ton of damage, and like I say, this 60% chance of lowering physical resistance, that's gonna really pump up the damage in PvE when you stack this multiple times. Also, if we look at his Awakening perks, I would say that Awakening 1 is probably all you need. So if you do want to pull this guy for PvE, or if you do get lucky and pull this guy, I think in PvE he's going to be pretty great. Like it's 400% physical nuke, the lowest physical resistance. One away you get the extra movement, some extra damage, which is going to make it much easier to use in PvE. But his Awakening 3 perk boosting attack and his Awakening 5 perk boosting MP, I think that they're not really that important, because if you are going to use this guy for PvE, which is what I think his main use should be, you're going to be probably running him with Young Terry, and Young Terry is going to boost his attack for him. Young Terry is going to restore his MP for him. So neither of these perks seem necessary to pull on. I would say that you could maybe, getting in the Wake 1 perk is nice. I wouldn't even say that's necessary. Even if you got him at Awakening 0, just the chance to 6% chance to lower physical resistance whilst nuking things, and staying under 50% so you get that power boost and staying behind a tank, he's going to be really useful for that even at 0 Awake. 1 Awake obviously makes him more versatile. So I would say that either don't pull on this guy. If you do want him, I wouldn't get him past Awakening 1, because I don't think he's worth it. Like I say, I think he's just going to be strictly pretty much PvE. Any Zap focused content or any content where you want a physical resistance drop, he's going to be useful for PvE. For PvP, I don't see any scenario essentially where you would want to bring this guy over solo. And I don't see much use for his Awakening 3 and Awakening 5 perk. Obviously getting more attack and the stats up and everything from Awakenings is useful, but these Awakening 3 and 5 perks are not worth the gem investment you would need to get there, in my opinion. So yeah, I think this guy, PvP, definitely skippable. For PvE, it would be a very nice addition to your box for PvE. But yeah, if you're thinking about throwing stuff at him, I'd throw it solo instead, or throw it at solo instead, or just save your money and gems. Next we're going to look at Pop, who is probably my favourite of the three. I don't think he's the best out of the three. I think Mam, who I'll review last, is the best. But I think his kit is pretty cool. It's pretty versatile, and it looks really fun to use. If we look at the perks, he's got a decent HP pool, pretty standard, mage stats, high wisdom, decent agility, decent HP, a lot of MP, low attack and defense. He does have some utility in this teleportation spell of Rescue. This pulls all allies within a range up to 3 squares. So we've seen this before on Summer Seraphy, except this actually has 1 extra range on it, and it will pull units 1 extra space backwards. So it can be used in scenarios where Seraphis can't. And I really like this stuff. I've used Summer Seraphy's pull a lot to either pull allies so that they can be in range of an enemy to attack them, or pull them out of range of an ally, so they're safe. Obviously, Summer Seraphy's comes with the benefit of, if she's close to an ally, she can reactive heal them, whereas Pop wouldn't be able to offer any of that support. But I'm sure there'll be lots of creative and fun uses you can find for this. And then if we look at the spell, he's essentially got a copy of Erdrick's spell, except this is not unreflectable. But it's a bang spell that hits in the exact same AoE as Erdrick's Phoenix Descent. He has Forbidden 5-finger Explosive Bullet. This is a 5-hit Frizz attack. This is only usable twice, by the way, which is a strange thing to see on an ability that's not a coup, but this is only usable twice. It should be very strong. And then he has All Out Flash Spell. This is a Sizz 2 to 4 range, and it occasionally stuns. So he does have some utility. And he also has 3 different elements, so odds are this guy's going to be able to hit something brilliant, or at the very least something neutrally, pretty much all the time. And then if we look at his coup, which is probably the most interesting thing about his kit, it says inflicts a large amount of unstoppable spell damage to all enemies within range, ignoring some damage reduction. Now, I've heard some conflicting things about this, but what I've read, essentially, I think this means that when it says unstoppable, this does not mean that it's unreflectable. Apparently it is actually reflectable, but it means that this will go through any damage reduction, which includes Selflessness from cover tanks, which includes Metal Body on Diamond Slime, and also it will kill enemies through their Immortal. So even if a Sorrow is at 700 health and hasn't had his Immortal proc yet, this is just going to kill him straight through that, which is unique. It's not something we haven't had so far. Usually you obviously need a multi-hit to be able to kill a unit through Immortal, but this is just going to do it anyway with a single hit, which is really cool. And it's going to nuke cover tanks and Diamond Slime, especially if it really does go through Metal Body, if it really does go through Selflessness, then this is going to be essentially dealing a ton of damage to anything, and the only way you'll be able to negate it really is probably with spell resistance, unless it goes through that as well. I'm not certain if it goes through that as well. And it's available on turn 2, so it's available pretty early into the fight. If we look at his passive, again, I think this is pretty cool. Essentially, he has built-in heavy resistance to Frizz and Crack, So instead of having 2 resistances, his base resistances are Sizz and Zam. He also gets heavy resistance to Frizz and Crack for free. So he's still got 2 weaknesses, 1 neutral, and then 4 resistances, which is nice, obviously, for reducing the damage you take. Awakening 1, at the start of action on odd numbered turns, up to the 10th turn, raises Wisdom, move, and evasion rate for 3 turns. So getting move up on a spellcaster is really nice. That gets him up to 3 move before he moves turn 1. So that means that that this Sizz spell is 7 range. This can go far. This is 7 range as well, and it also means that his move is going to keep on buffing up every 2 turns, which is going to make him good for turtling strats, because if the enemy doesn't want to engage, well, then Pop's just going to be buffing himself on odd turns. Turn 5 comes around, he's got 5 move, he's got +3 wisdom, and then he's coming at you with this spell that you can't really negate the damage of, so he should be pretty good for turtling strats. The coolest person at the party, this essentially, if an ally of yours gets statused, even if that is by a reactive status, so say if your ally attacked a Queen Slime and got charmed by it, that would still activate this, and it boosts his spell power by 1.5 times, which is with all the status that gets thrown around in real-time arena, this could definitely be a useful thing to have proc, and it means that your ally getting statused, there's actually a positive that can come out of that. And then Awakening 5, we have +2 spell resistance at the start of battle, which isn't very exciting. I'll be honest, it's pretty bad. Awakening 5 perks. It's only negating the damage of one damage type. Obviously, the damage you'll take from breath, physical, and martial is still exactly the same. So that's not that great, I'd say. If we look at status element resistances, he's immune to sleep, which is good. Weak to charm, which is fine because that's pretty rare. But he has no resistance to confusion, paralysis, or stun. So it's possible you'll be able to deal with him that way. I should also note that this doesn't proc if you're the one that gets status. So say if you got poisoned or something, you wouldn't get this 1.5 times boost. It's only if a friend gets that, and that's about everything. So this, like I say, as you can see, he's a spellcaster, and if what I've heard is right, and this isn't unreflectable, he's a spellcaster that has no way to deal with spell reflect, and also will have no way to deal with snub from Solo. And Solo, obviously, this guy's weak to zap, and Solo has that big short hit zap attack, which will also ignore his evasion boost he gets from Awakening 1. So Pop's not going to have a fun time with Solo. He's not going to have a fun time with any spell bouncer. But I still think having a triple element user might be a first for a spellcaster. Don't quote me on that. I think being able to pull allies either for offensive or defensive reasons, I think that opens up some cool strategies, and I think this coup is really cool and sounds like it could be really fun to play with, ignoring damage reduction and killing things through Immortal. That could obviously again open up some new gameplay possibilities, which would be fun. And I also think that this guy, all you need is Awakening 1 on him, really. Obviously, Awakening 3 will be good for RTA, and obviously all the stat increases you get from Awakenings will obviously be useful. The Awakening 5 perk, again, I think that's pretty, it's pretty bad, to be honest. I wouldn't, that would never encourage me to pull more for him. I think the Awakening 3 one's pretty cool, but I think he functions perfectly well at Awakening 1. Like I say, getting that move up, getting the wisdom up, getting the evasion up, those are all really nice. That's going to keep happening till turn 10. And again, he matches my playstyle, really. I'm a guy that plays, because I lack blitz units, I'm kind of forced to play a more defensive playstyle, and Pop will fit in that quite nicely. Enemies are going to come to him, and then he can choose whichever element he wants to do. If he can't really do much damage for anything, he has an option to stun things, or he can let allies run up and attack things and then pull them back to safety. There'd be a lot of things he can do. He'll probably need some cover time protection, but I think at Awakening 1, he's going to be definitely a very fun unit to use, and I think he'll function perfectly well at Awakening 1. And he should be usable in PvP, RTA, GVG, and PvE. Mostly his coup will probably be the most useful thing he could use in PvE, because there are some bosses they like to give Immortal to, and usually a heal on top of that. So with this, you could just kill him through that and not need to worry about a multi-hit. But yeah, so I'd say this guy could be worth pulling for up to Awakening 1. I don't think getting any more than that is necessary. But obviously, if you want more stats, if you want more agility and wisdom and stuff, then pull as much as you need. But I think he functions perfectly well at Awakening 1. And then lastly, we have Martial Artist Mam, who I think is definitely the best of the bunch and the one that you're going to see by far the most in Real Time Arena, which why that is will become obvious when I get into her kit. If we look at her first attack, hold on, let me put her stats on. As you can see, solid amount of HP, good attack, good agility, 2 move, but her Awakening 1 perk is going to give her +2 agility and +2 move. So that's really going to be 4 move for the first 3 turns. If we look at her first attack, inflicts 200% physical damage to one enemy and pushes them back 5 squares, and occasionally lowers their move. The utility on this is pretty great. You can knock an enemy or a cover tank away 5 squares and have the potential to lower their move for 3 turns. So essentially you can knock them away and make it so it's not possible for them to get back in range to attack you or your allies. So if there's something that you can't deal much damage to, or there's a big threat to your team, you can potentially knock them out of the fight for a whole turn, which could be useful for something like solo. Usually if you can't damage a unit, you want to status them. You can't status solo. This could be the next best option. But if I can't damage you, if I can't status you, I'm just going to knock you as far back as possible, hopefully lower your move, and then not have to worry about you for another turn. So decent utility to this if she can't deal much damage. This is really her signature move. Bujin Ryu, I probably butchered that, combat. Inflicts 300% physical damage to one enemy and increases own physical boost effect for 1 turn. And by physical boost effect, this is essentially like physical tension, which if you know about Bahamut, he has like spell tension that boosts every turn. This can be applied in conjunction with regular tension, as far as I know. And each time she goes for this, it's going to boost her own physical tension by 1, which is going to obviously increase the physical damage she does on every attack. And we'll get more into that, her base passive in a minute. Her third attack is Bujin Ryu Rambu, which randomly deals 60% physical damage 5 times to enemies within range and moves up to 4 squares, and also buffs her own attack. This is pretty lackluster, just because it's it hits 3 tiles, but it doesn't. Instead of, say there's an enemy on this tile, this tile, this tile, it's not going to deal 5 hits to each of them. It's going to spread those 5 hits between them. So this doesn't really deal any AoE damage, and so essentially her whole kit is all single target damage. She can't really deal much damage to anything in an AoE, but her single target damage is really high, obviously. And it buffs her own attack, which is nice. And also hitting 5 times is useful. That can be useful for things like breaking Zenlong barriers or killing an enemy through a mortar, things like that. And then finally she has Flashlight Fists, which has a really cool secondary effect. Obviously it's super strong, 650% physical potency at +10, and it nullifies HP recovery for 3 turns, and it's usable on turn 2, and I believe it can be used 3 times. So this is going to be probably mostly useful in PvE. Obviously Blossom Door 50, currently we have a Hargon with 40,000 HP that heals half his HP when he gets knocked under 50%. So essentially, if you hit him with this, then you can negate his 20k HP heal, and that's going to make him obviously much easier to take down. And in PvP, depending on the scenario, you could land this on a solo to stop him healing himself every time he attacks. Particularly useful if he has the sword on that heals himself with every attack as well. Or you can hit this on a cover tank to stop it being healed up and things like that. So decent amount of utility on this. But what's going to make her really strong is this passive. When a friend other than yourself attacks with a physical or martial skill, if the enemy is within 1 to 3 range, follow up with this move right here. And when she follows up with it, even passively, it's still going to have the effect of boosting her physical tension. So let's say she runs in turn 1 and hits something with this. She's going to have physical tension of 1. If an ally then comes in and hits something within 1 to 3 range of her, she's going to follow up with this, and then she's going to have physical tension of 2, and that's going to keep building up until physical tension of 4. And so essentially what you can do is, if you're blitzing, obviously we know Blitz is like the strongest playstyle. If you send Mam in first, she hits something, she sends in 3 allies, they follow up, she's going to have 4 stacks of physical tension before her turn comes around on the next turn, at which point she can either choose to maintain that by using this again, or she can have a 4 stack of physical tension and go for a coup and absolutely annihilate something. So essentially she has a passive follow up that gets stronger each time the follow up procs, and she maintains that until her turn comes around again, which is really strong. And if we look at her Awakening 3 perk, essentially she cures herself of a status ailment one time per battle. So, you can't just deal with her by hitting her with Fuddle or something because she is weak to Confusion, or stunning her with Erdrick if she's Awakening 3, because she's going to cure that. So you're going to have to damage her. But then also her Awakening 5 perk is she increases her evasion rate every time she hits someone. Now this evasion rate does not stack with her passive, so it's only going to be active attacks that actually increase this. Otherwise that would be really ridiculous. But so essentially she's usually going to be running around with 20% evasion and a ton of agility. And so all these things combined makes her a really great blitz unit. She's going to run in, she's going to hit something. Her allies are going to run in and hit things. She's going to follow up on each ally that's hit with an ever-increasing power for Bujin Ryu combat. You can deal with her just by statusing her, because you have to do that twice. And if you do want to kill her, or remove those buffs by saying hit with the Zenithian Slash from solo, then you're going to have to combat this evasion rate, which is only one stack that you'll have on turn 1, but if that makes you miss Zenithian Slash, then that's going to be enough to probably lose you the game. And so this is a unit I think people are going to wail on. Like I say, obviously we know whales love to blitz. This is going to be another really, really strong addition to their arsenal. And the damage she can output is going to be crazy on that turn 2. If she gets all those follow-ups and you can't deal with her because you can't status her, or you're unable to kill her, then she's probably going to nuke something on turn 2 with her Flashlight Fist. And she's also going to have, obviously, like I say, utility and PvE due to this Flashlight Fist. So this is a unit that technically is going to be functional at Awakening 1. For PvP, I'd say you probably definitely want Awakening 3, just because being able to ignore one state settlement is a really big deal in real-time arena. But since he's a blitz unit, every Awakening matters. All the agility you can get matters. So this is a unit that you probably want to get to Awakening 5 if you really want to compete with her, because most of the ones we're probably going to end up seeing in real-time arena are going to be Awakening 5. And obviously, if you're Blitz versus Blitz and they have faster Blitz units than you, well, then you're probably going to lose. So I'd say you want probably, if you're planning to use her, you probably want minimum Awakening 3, ideally Awakening 5, but obviously most of us are spent on solo, so there's probably going to be mostly a whale exclusive blitz unit that you're going to see. But if you do get her Awakening 1, I mean, there's potential you could use her. She starts with +2 agility, so she's going to be really fast, and you can build it to be super fast, but obviously her damage is going to be way lower, and she's going to get outsped by lots of other blitz units most likely. And so I think that pretty much covers it. So Die, like I said, I don't think it's worth it. Any gems you would spend on Die, I think, should be directed towards Solo's banner. If you already have a Max Awake, then I would just ignore this for the most part. But if you do want to get him, then if you get him Awakening 1, I think he's a really good PvE unit. Pop, I don't think he's that good, to be honest. Like I say, he doesn't have a way to deal with Snub. He doesn't really have a way to deal with anyone that has Bounce. But I think he has a cool kit. I think so that's what I'm going to pull for him. I think he functions perfectly well at Awakening 1. Like, he has no Awakening perks that you desperately want or need. But again, easily skippable. Like I say, I don't think he's going to be I don't think he's going to be, setting real-time arena or GVG on fire. I think he's definitely going to be useful, having 3 different elements to hit Brilliant. And his coup is really cool, and his pull is cool. But beyond being cool, I'm not sure he is that useful. And then we have Mam, who I think is going to be, she's going to excel as a blitz unit in real-time arena. But really, you're going to want Awakening 3 on her, ideally Awakening 5 to compete with the other Mams that are going to be running around. So I'd say unless you're willing to put a lot into Mam, probably worth skipping as well. Should be noted that the Die banners have special stamps, so you could dump 30k into this, maybe come away with an Awakening 1 Die, maybe come away with an Awakening 1 Pop, and there'll be nice additions to your box. And also there is a special paid banner where all 3 of them are on the same paid banner. You can do it 3 times. First time you get a guaranteed S unit. Not one of these guaranteed, just guaranteed any S unit. Second time, guaranteed any S unit. Third time, you don't get a guaranteed S unit, but you do get this ticket, which you can exchange for either pop, die, or MAM. So that's a way to essentially guarantee you get one of them. If you're planning to just get one Awakening Zero, I'd say Die is definitely the best choice for its PvE utility. So I'll probably consider doing this just to get a guaranteed copy of Pop, and then I can awaken him with shards or something. Or if I get lucky, I can get a copy of him from one of the first two pools, and then get his awakening with this card. Or if you get really unlucky and you do the triple pool, the triple paid, and you don't want to do anything else, I'd say probably Die is the best option for Awakening Zero, because like I say, he's still going to have that 60% chance to lower physical resistance with his 400% potency attack, which is going to be really useful for PvE. And yeah, that about sums it up. Don't pull on this guy if you need to pull on solo. Pull on her if you're looking to blitz in RTA and you're ready to go to Awakening 3 or 5 for her. And pull on Pop because he's really cool. Or don't. Alright, thank you.